Welcome to this explainer. We are going to meticulously unpack a truly fascinating psychological preference today. If you've ever been called too quiet, or if you felt completely drained after a networking event, well, you are absolutely going to love this. We're breaking down the psychology of meaningful silence versus small talk. It's like a giant puzzle of how we communicate, or I guess more accurately, how we choose not to. So let me ask you a question, and I really want you to think about the last time this happened. Are you just completely tired of the weather debate? You know exactly what I mean, right? You're stuck in an elevator, or you're waiting in line for coffee, and suddenly, boom, you're trapped. You're in this predictable, repetitive loop of words about the humidity or maybe the chance of rain this weekend. It happens literally every single day. And, while society tells us this is just how we're supposed to interact, have you ever noticed how incredibly draining that superficial exchange actually feels? It's like you're running on a social treadmill. You're expending all this energy, but you aren't actually going anywhere at all.
Well, if that resonates with you, consider this. You might just prefer meaningful silence. Now, let that sit for a second. That brief pause we just took right there, that is exactly what we're talking about today. See, this isn't about being antisocial or lacking communication skills. No way. What our source material points to is a recognized, valid, and deeply peaceful psychological stance. It is a completely different way of processing the world around you.
Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the small talk burden, unpacking the noise.
Let's establish what small talk actually is at its core. It's defined as polite conversation about unimportant or uncontroversial matters. Now, on the surface, that seems pretty harmless, right? It's designed to be safe. It avoids friction. But when you look at it psychologically, the absolute key word here is unimportant. We are literally spending our valuable cognitive energy formulating, delivering, and responding to data that we have actively agreed just doesn't matter. We're exchanging words simply for the sake of exchanging words.
And because it's unimportant, small talk takes on some really exhausting attributes. It's superficial, it feels totally obligatory, like some kind of social tax you have to pay just to stand in a room. It exists merely to fill the air. And above all, it lacks depth. Just think about how fast-paced and reactive small talk has to be. You throw a meaningless statement out, the other person bats it back, you pivot to another superficial topic, back and forth, ping pong, ping pong. It is this constant, rapid-fire social processing that demands your attention without ever providing you with any real psychological reward or genuine human connection. It's just exhausting.
Which brings us to Section 2, defining meaningful silence, the psychological alternative. Meaningful silence is defined as a profound, intentional quiet that communicates depth without words. Notice the difference in the language here compared to small talk. This silence is intentional, it's active, it's profound. When people who prefer this style stop talking, they aren't just failing to think of something to say. They aren't experiencing some awkward blank spot in their brain. No. They are actively choosing a state of quiet because they recognize that true depth often exists in the spaces between the words. It's a presence, not an absence.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast we're looking at. Small talk is superficial, draining, and obligatory. It literally pulls energy right out of you. Meaningful silence, on the other hand, is deep, recharging, and authentic. For certain people, just sitting quietly with someone is exactly how they recharge their battery. They don't need to fill the air to feel secure in the relationship. The quiet itself is what provides the comfort and the authenticity.
So, let's move to Section 3, the psychology of preference. Why some choose quiet.
This preference for meaningful silence implies some very specific, highly developed psychological traits. First off, this person values authenticity over filling the air. They would rather say absolutely nothing at all than say something fake or meaningless. Second, they employ deeper cognitive processing. Biologically speaking, their brains literally require less external dopamine to feel stimulated, so they don't need that constant chatter to stay engaged. Small talk actually disrupts that deep processing, whereas silence nurtures it. And third, and honestly perhaps most beautifully, they view silence as connection. While society might view quiet as a barrier or wall, these individuals see a shared, comfortable silence as the ultimate proof of intimacy and trust. It's really just a natural adaptation for deep thinkers.
So the crucial point is the word prefer. Prefer equals a choice. It is not a deficit. Society has this really bad habit of pathologizing quietness. We tend to treat it like it's a symptom of shyness or anxiety or just a lack of social grace. But our source text doesn't say the psychology of people who suffer from silence, it says people who prefer it. It is an active, empowering communication style. You are choosing the high-quality interaction of quiet over the low-quality interaction of noise.
And that leads right into Section 4, the power of quiet, reclaiming the space.
When we look at the psychology of people who prefer meaningful silence to small talk, we can see how much weight those words actually carry. It's not just a passing observation, it's a deeply rooted psychological reality. The true power of quiet lies in its ability to protect your cognitive energy. Reclaiming the space means giving yourself permission to just exist in a room, to be fully present with other human beings without feeling that overwhelming, draining obligation to put on a performance.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Next time the room goes quiet, will you rush to fill it? I want you to carry this explainer with you the next time you find yourself in a conversation that naturally lulls. Instead of panicking, instead of desperately searching your brain for a random comment about the weather to just throw into the void, I challenge you to just let the silence exist. Observe it. Lean right into the meaningful quiet. You might just find it's exactly what your brain has been looking for all along. Thanks for exploring this with me today.